Nobody showed up to my graduation. Not one familiar face in the crowd. My name echoed through the speakers, but the reserved for family row stayed empty. Sunlight bounced off cold metal seats. I smiled for the photo anyway, pretending it didn't sting. 3 days later, my mom's text appeared. Need $2,100 for your sister's sweet 16. No congratulations. Just a demand. So I sent $1 with a note. Congrats. Then I changed the locks. For the first time, my apartment was silent. But not for long. The day of my graduation was supposed to be the day I finally felt seen. The stadium shimmered in the sunlight, a blur of navy gowns and proud families waving phones in the air. When my name echoed through the speakers, Camila Reed, Master of Data Analytics. I looked up instinctively, searching the front rows. The reserved for family section glared back at me, empty and metallic under the light. Not even a shadow where my parents should have been. I forced a smile for the photo, holding my diploma a little too tight, my cheeks aching from pretending. Around me, laughter bloomed like confetti. Students kissed their parents. Friends cried into bouquets. I stood alone beside a stranger's family taking pictures, my smile shrinking with every camera click. Afterward, I lingered in the courtyard, scrolling my phone just to look busy. Ruby, my classmate, found me. You did it. Her parents snapped photos of us together. Then she scanned the crowd. Where's your family? Running late. I lied. The lie came easy. Years of practice. By the time I reached the parking lot, the sky was turning gold. Balloons floated above car roofs. Kids shouted. Car horns echoed. I sat inside my beat-up Civic and watched it all from behind the wheel. For a moment, I imagined them walking toward me. Mom waving. Avery in her glitter sneakers. Dad carrying flowers. Then the vision vanished beneath the sound of engines starting. The truth was, I shouldn't have been surprised. My parents had skipped my college graduation too. Back then, Mom said Avery had finals. Dad didn't even call. There was always a reason. Always a smaller, shinier priority. I'd spent my teenage years trying to earn love like it was a scholarship. Working 2 jobs. Sending money home. Saying yes to every request. At 16, I wore a Starbucks apron before sunrise, serving coffee to lawyers and nurses. Mom used to text. Thanks, honey. Avery needs piano lessons. Or, she has a field trip. Just a little extra, okay? The first time she said, you're our pride. I believed her. I thought love sounded like appreciation. Now I know it sounded like obligation. When I got into graduate school, I told myself this degree would change everything. That if I achieved enough, maybe she'd finally see me. Not as the backup plan. Not as the family paycheck disguised as a daughter. But as her equal. I didn't know success could become another reason to take. 3 days after graduation, when the cap and gown still hung beside the door, her message arrived. Need $2,100 for your sister's sweet 16. No congratulations. No curiosity. Just numbers. A deadline. I stared at the text for a long time, and something inside me finally stood up. The phone dimmed and locked itself while I stared. $2,100. The number sat there like an order. Not a request. I should have been numb by then. For years, money had been the language my family used instead of love. But that day it didn't slide off me the way it used to. Maybe it was the quiet after graduation. Maybe it was hearing applause from people who actually earned it. Or maybe I had finally run out of reasons to keep buying affection that never existed. I opened my banking app. My savings barely touched $3,000. Something inside me hardened. I typed $1. Added a note. Congrats. And hit send. For a long moment, I stared at the confirmation screen. Then I opened the drawer beside the front door. Inside sat the spare key my mother insisted on keeping for emergencies. I dropped it into the trash. That night I called a locksmith. An older man arrived carrying tools that chimed softly when he walked. The new lock clicked into place. Solid. Final. After he left, I stood in the doorway breathing in the scent of oil and metal. It was the first boundary I'd ever built. The next morning sunlight filled my apartment. I brewed coffee. Watched steam curl into the air. For the first time, I didn't flinch at the silence. It belonged to me. No one could walk in. No one could ask for anything. Peace had a sound. It sounded like this. Until the knocking started. Firm. Rhythmic. Persistent. I froze. It wasn't Mrs. Patel, my landlord. She always called first. When I looked through the peephole, 2 police officers stood in the hallway. One spoke calmly. Miss Reed. I opened the door. Yes. We received a call from your mother. She said you've been acting erratically, changing locks, refusing calls, and she's concerned you might harm yourself. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so absurd it became tragic. She did what? The officer's eyes softened. We just need to confirm you're okay. I let them inside. The apartment was spotless. Coffee mug on the table. Laptop open. Diploma framed on the wall. I gestured around the room. Do I look unstable to you? The officer's mouth twitched. Not even close, ma'am. He asked a few questions. Work. Stress. Family. I answered honestly. Just finished graduate school. Looking for jobs. No medical concerns. Just boundaries. He nodded. We'll file this as no concern. If your mother calls again, reference this report. As they turned to leave, he paused. Sometimes when people start standing up for themselves, others panic. Happens more than you'd think. When the door closed, I leaned against it. Shaking. Not from fear. From fury. My mother hadn't crossed a boundary. She'd declared war on it. The next morning I opened my banking app. A pit formed in my stomach. 2 unfamiliar credit inquiries appeared. Capital One. Discover. Both recent. Both unauthorized. I pulled my credit report. 2 accounts had been opened in my name. My social security number. My information. But not my address. My parents' address. The balances were already climbing. Thousands spent. Then I saw the transactions. Party venues. DJ services. Beauty appointments. My mother's text echoed in my mind. Need $2,100 for your sister's Sweet 16. It hadn't been a request. It had been a setup. I called the bank. This is Camila Reed. I need to report identity theft. The representative verified my information. Then paused. This account was opened in person. Co-applicant, Linda M. Reed. Everything went silent. My mother hadn't just used me for money. She'd become me to get it. I opened my voice recorder. Then I called her. She answered after 3 rings. So you're alive? Mom, I said calmly. I found 2 credit cards opened under my name using your address. Want to explain that? She laughed. Oh, that? I was helping you build credit. You forged my identity. You should be grateful. It's family money. No. I kept my voice steady. What's mine is mine, and what's yours is under investigation. Silence. Then a sharp inhale. You wouldn't dare. I already did. I ended the call. Saved the recording. And for the first time in my life, I felt something stronger than guilt. I felt free. The bank had escalated my fraud report. Their internal team coordinated with local law enforcement to verify the transactions connected to Avery's Sweet 16 celebration. You aren't required to attend, the representative told me. We simply wanted you notified. My throat tightened. You're sending police to the venue? Yes, ma'am. Standard procedure. We'll document and verify the charges. I thanked her and hung up. Through my open window, faint music drifted across the city. A celebration was about to unravel. 40 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from Avery. Are you insane? The police just showed up. The DJ stopped. Everyone's staring. Mom's freaking out. ***. Another message followed immediately. They're saying your name. What did you do? ***. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Across town, 2 officers entered the brightly lit banquet hall. No sirens. No drama. Just calm authority. A bank investigator followed carrying a thick folder of receipts and contracts. Good evening, one officer said. We're here to verify a report of credit card fraud associated with this event. The charges were made using an account under the name Camila Reed. Whispers spread through the room. Phones appeared. People started recording. My mother froze beside the cake table. Color drained from her face. There must be some mistake, she said. The investigator opened the folder. Primary applicant, Linda M. Reed. Unauthorized use of another person's identity has been reported. Gasps echoed across the hall. Someone whispered, Isn't that her daughter's name? My mother's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Avery stood in the center of the room, tears forming in her eyes. Mom, what did you do? The officer remained professional. We are not making any arrests tonight. We only need copies of receipts and identity verification for the investigation. Silence filled the room. Only camera shutters and phone notifications broke it. Within minutes, the DJ unplugged his equipment. The banner above the dance floor sagged. Guests began leaving in small groups. Whispers followed them out the door. By the time my mother stepped outside, rain had started falling. Soft. Steady. Unforgiving. Back in my apartment, I stood by the window watching lightning flash above the skyline. I didn't celebrate. I didn't smile. I simply listened. Justice rarely arrives with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives quietly. And that night, quiet was enough. For years, I believed silence meant weakness. That night, I learned silence could also mean victory. A few days later, an email arrived from the fraud department. Investigation resolved. Linda M. Reed acknowledged unauthorized use and agreed to full repayment. ****. No excuses. No manipulation. Just facts. For the first time, the truth existed on paper. News traveled quickly. People talked. Questions spread. The story moved through neighborhoods, workplaces, and church gatherings. My sister's party video eventually circulated online. Guests whispering. Confusion. Embarrassment. Consequences. For once, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't respond to messages. Not because I was angry, because I was exhausted. I was finished explaining what should never have required explanation. I completed the paperwork, froze my credit, closed every account my mother had ever touched. Then I printed the final confirmation letter. I pinned it beside my diploma and the locksmith receipt. 3 documents. 3 reminders. Proof of effort. Proof of protection. Proof of freedom. That evening, I made tea and opened the window. The city hummed below. Alive. Indifferent. Peaceful. For the first time, silence didn't hurt. It healed. Months later, I had a new job surrounded by people who valued me for what I built, not what I could provide. On my wall hung 3 things. My diploma, my employee badge, and the old lock I had replaced. Together they told the story of a woman who finally chose herself.